This is the 2019 edition of the Alienware M15. Our model comes equipped with a 15-inch 1080p 144Hz IPS type display, and it's been put together with a combination of materials that include magnesium alloy and copper, featuring their usual industrial type design. This has all culminated into Alienware's thinnest and lightest gaming laptop to date, more so than even their 13. The M15 comes in at a length and width of 362 by 270mm, and with a height of just 22 and weighing in at slightly under 5 pounds, it's been ideal for me whilst using it to travel over the last month. That, and it was a welcome relief that it came with a single power brick. Now it's Alienware, so of course your model could be further customized during the checkout process, but the version we've been sent features an overclocked Intel i9-8950HK CPU, an NVIDIA RTX 2080 Max-Q GPU, and 16GB of DDR4 memory running 2600 MHz. That RTX graphics card also means it comes with NVIDIA's recent improvements to the NVENC codec, i.e. applications such as OBS will better utilize the encoder, resulting in not only improved video quality, but a more minimal performance impact while streaming to Twitch. Now sure, a 1440p display here would have been nice, but at 15 inches I have to say I'm more than happy with desktop scaling set to 100%, something that would otherwise become uncomfortable at anything above that resolution. That, and judging by Test UFO, this is a pretty damn fast IPS panel in itself, with grey-to-grey transitions that certainly rival the fastest of dedicated gaming displays today, or at least those at equivalent refresh rates. My only disappointment here is that it doesn't feature NVIDIA's G-Sync, so I'll be using my external display where possible, given I love the smoothness and snappiness that variable refresh rate offers. Now on the left side of the M15 you'll find a single gigabit Ethernet port, a 3.5mm microphone and headphone combo jack, a Noble lock port to keep it secure at LAN events or otherwise, and a single USB 3.0 Type A port. You'll also find a further 2 of these USB 3.0 Type A's on the right side, but that's pretty much it. And on the back there's a HDMI 2.0, a mini DisplayPort 1.3, a Thunderbolt 3 USB Type-C port, an Alienware proprietary jack for an external graphics amplifier, and of course the power in. Now as far as audio is concerned, the M15 features dual firing stereo speakers, which whilst better than your average small form factor laptop solution, are certainly limited in power given the space available in the chassis. Now for competitive play you're going to be using headphones or a headset anyway. It's just for casual use, whilst there is enough volume to be not disappointed, you'll find it's lacking some of the oomph on the lower end, i.e. bass. What is certainly fantastic, however, is that 1080p webcam up top. It is surprisingly good quality, and providing you have adequate lighting or daylight, then depending on where you position the laptop, you'd happily use this for streaming as well, and your viewers would be more than happy with the result. But finally, as with every product these days, you'll also find customizable RGB lighting across a total of 6 zones. This includes the full-size keyboard, the Alien Head power button, and Alien Head on the cover. This can all be customized in the Alienware Command Center, which offers a bunch of presets that I need not go into for this review, but things like color wave, color cycle, setting a specific color, etc. This command center will also allow you to create keyboard macros, monitor the clock speeds and temperatures, create thermal profiles and power management plans, and make tweaks to the audio out and microphone in. In terms of audio customization, there's actually an impressive array of tweaks here, including a full equalizer and a voice shaper as well. And this is something you do well to absolutely hop into right away, considering features like the bass enhancer are enabled by default. Now I've chosen to include 5 in-game benchmarks from a variety of genres. These include Forza Horizon 4 as you're seeing now, Thrones of Britannia from the Total War saga, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Metro Exodus both with and without RTX enabled, and Rainbow Six Siege using a competitive player setup. We ran all benchmarks using Afterburner, and that's with the exception of Forza as it's not yet supported, and video was captured on a separate run using GeForce Experience on the laptop. This means the statistics you see on screen are slightly lower than you'd otherwise expect due to the performance penalty, which is why I've included a benchmark for that run too, and you can specifically see the differences in Siege when it comes to encoding. Now in terms of Forza, we're able to pretty much max everything out, only opting to disable motion blur because, well, I hate it. It is a damn gorgeous game though, and it ran like an absolute dream on the M15, pushing 114 frames on average. So this is a game you should either buy or try on the Xbox Game Pass and give it a go because it's great. We next ran Thrones of Britannia one step down from the maximum preset, i.e. high. This meant we stayed above 60 frames at pretty much all times, only really dropping due to an unavoidable stutter present in the benchmark. Now I also experienced this same stutter on my desktop, so it really can't be avoided. You can also drop the settings and shoot up in numbers significantly as well, which is something I'd personally recommend doing given the increased refresh rate on this laptop. For Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it was perhaps the most difficult set of benchmark settings to determine, purely because by dropping things down to medium and high, you'll shoot up way above 100 FPS, which on the high refresh rate display is an absolute godsend. But for the purpose of the video and just, well, to see what the laptop can do, we've maxed everything out, obviously again disabling depth of field, bloom and motion blur, and we stay above 60 FPS at all times, which is great to see. Also, since sending the laptop back and recording this voiceover and editing afterwards, RTX enhancements are now available in the game, so if you want to experiment with that on the M15, you're going to be able to. But again, I absolutely love this series from Crystal Dynamics, and whether you pick up the laptop or not, you should definitely play through. Now the Mectra Exodus benchmark was an interesting one, mostly because it was playable both with and without RTX at above 60 FPS on the high preset, and that's with NVIDIA's Hairworks and PhysX enabled. Although it was a case at least until we got outside where frames began to dip. Fortunately, things do improve in the main game, however, meaning this benchmark is really pushing everything to its absolute limit. But with that said, I do also wonder if the i9 hitting 100 degrees is contributing to this drop, and that's considering it being throttled down to 3.3 GHz at times. You could always consider lowering a few of the in-game settings to boost numbers considerably as well, and if you are looking to run ray tracing, you should really be aiming toward a dedicated 2080 Ti for best results. Finally, for Rainbow Six Siege, I wanted to expand a little bit, and that's given its popularity as an esports title as they move into year 4. I've included benchmark runs for just gaming, capturing footage using GFE, and streaming with OBS. And I've also included a competitive player config here with only textures, filtering, and level of detail set to high, with everything else on low or off. Numbers are more than acceptable here at 144, with the exception of X264, and this is a number you want to stick at minimum to, given Siege is notorious for a floaty mouse input feeling the lower your frames per second. In other words, a very acceptable amount of performance here for the M15, and more than suitable for Rainbow Six Siege. In all, the M15 could be considered a desktop replacement laptop for many, and one that also happens to be legitimately portable. I was relieved to find it arrived with pretty much zero bloatware pre-installed as well, and that's beyond the usual Windows 10 stuff. But after I went through the mundane task of reverting Microsoft efforts to get me into Candy Crush, I did find myself generally happy with the performance, although with a caveat. Now the i9 operated at a maximum clock speed of roughly 4.3 GHz on the desktop, and for the time it ran close to that value in game, it genuinely outperformed my own system featuring an older i7 and GTX 1070 Ti. However, and this is where it gets tricky, when leaving the FPS unlocked, or at higher values in Siege or Apex Legends, it often led to thermal throttling because the CPU would regularly touch 100 degrees, additionally ramping up the fan speed and noise. This in turn led to reduced clock speeds, fluctuating anywhere between 2.8 and 3.5, which in gaming terminology roughly translates to inconsistent frame rates, which isn't ideal for mouse input as a competitive player. Now this throttling can be somewhat alleviated by locking your in-game frames, the value of which you determine by the most intensive moments, so a huge fight or whilst leaving the dropship in Apex Legends, and for the record, 120 to 144 is all that's needed at 1080p, but still that won't be something everyone's willing to do, and at the price it is really hard to justify given the lack of a variable refresh rate display to somewhat counteract it. Sure, I'd connect my external one at home, but I'd like that technology on the move as well, which would additionally come with the lower input latency of something such as G-Sync. Now a G-Sync option is available on the highest end Area 51M laptop however, so if you are able to jump both in size and price, I'd definitely consider doing. But if you are dead set on an M15 and specifically for the purpose of competitive play on the move, then I'd consider going for the i5 or i7 option with this same RTX GPU. Those CPUs are likely to run a little cooler and will therefore maintain a higher clock speed for increased and more consistent frame rates, and at that point I definitely recommend the M15. Other benefits are that the touchpad is snappy when needed, and I'd honestly love to see them produce an external version of this keyboard for our desktop computers because its consistent feel and low travel distance truly makes for a competitive player's keyboard through and through. I only wish caps lock was included in anti-ghosting, as using that for push to talk, shift for sprint, and control for crouch, I did run into issues, but keys surrounding W, A, S, and D are just fine. But for multitasking, editing, and pretty much everything else though, the benefits of this Intel i9 could still be worth it. And for what it's worth, Alienware have done a pretty damn good job at calling a notoriously hot i9 processor. The reality is that performance is actually fantastic, it's just for us esports enthusiasts, Alienware already offer a more competitive M15 during their checkout process, so hopefully this video and my review will help enable you to make that informed decision when selecting the CPU inside. Oh, and don't forget, you'll also save a bit of money on an external webcam given how good this built-in one is. Anyway, that about wraps it up. A quick thank you again to Alienware for letting me borrow this over the last few weeks. It's allowed me to continue streaming and gaming whilst on the move, and I really do appreciate it. If you yourself have enjoyed the video, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more like this in future, and if you have any questions or comments, in particular feedback, given this is my first laptop review, then leave it down below and I'll get back to you. But for now, take care, keep gaming, and I'll see you in the next video.